Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the May 20th meeting of the school committee. Before I'd like to start with a roll call, if I can find my thing here. Okay. Charlie Donahue.
Here.
Tony Mullen.
Here.
Carol Lewis.
Here.
Amanda Phillips.
Here.
And I am here as well. Great. So before we start, I'd like to recognize the live broadcast and online stream that's available through Westwood Media Center. Also online at www.westwood.k12.ma.us/live, which provides real-time public access to the activities of the school committee in accordance with the March 12th, 2020 Executive Order of Governor Baker. As always, we thank Westwood Media for their continued hard work on behalf of our community. So the first item on our agenda is public participation. As you know, this is the portion of our meeting where the public can call in, and we ask only that you identify yourself with your name and your street address and limit your remarks to 3 minutes and address the chair. And you can raise any matter related to the Westwood Public Schools. So at this time, I actually do not see anyone on Zoom from the public. So I think unless they can't call in, right? It has to be Zoom, Connor?
They would be able to call in, but right now
Oh.
there are no call-in numbers. They would show up as the same as if you just saw an attendee.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'm going to close public participation since there is no one there. And we will move on to our next agenda item, which is the second reading of the revised policy on face masks. So you had a link to this in your packet. And as you can see, we're playing a little bit of catch up here. Just to remind everyone of the history, last meeting we had done a first reading of this. And then subsequently, between that meeting and this meeting, Governor Baker had a press conference and DESE issued additional guidance regarding use of face masks, specifically that if you're outside, students did not have to wear them at recess. I think MIAA also issued some guidelines for sports, saying if you are actively playing, you do not have to wear them. And if you are a spectator or an official, you also do not have to wear them as long as you're outside. Inside, the mask mandate is still in place. So we have subsequently revised the mask policy further to clarify and to bring the policy in line with that guidance. So as you can see, it basically says that a face mask that covers the nose and mouth must be worn by all individuals in school buildings and on school transportation, even when social distancing observed. So that's the indoor piece. And then it's revised to say that masks may be worn on school grounds, must be worn on school grounds at large gatherings or events in accordance with DESE's supplemental guidance for student groups and school events for school year 2020 to 2021. So if you are on school grounds and not at a large gathering or event, you do not have to wear a mask. And that is consistent with the guidance we've been getting. So are there any comments on this? Any changes? Anything anyone wants to talk about?
Yeah, I guess sorry, I just looked at it this morning. There seems to be a little bit of inconsistency. So there's a line in the policy that says, finally, this is towards the end of the first page when I printed it. It says, finally, face masks will not be required during the following periods as long as appropriate social distancing is enforced. And it gives a few examples. Now, the DESE guidance is a little bit different. It says students no longer have to wear masks when outdoors, even if distance cannot be maintained. So I think it's a question. Yeah.
That's
so I guess
a good point.
Question around that social distancing.
Yeah. So I guess, so I wonder if we should. Yeah. So let's think about this. So while outside, we can strike that, right? That doesn't need to be subject to social distancing. While eating or drinking indoors, I believe does need to be subject to social distancing.
Yeah.
And during mask breaks that are indoors has to be subject to social. So I think the mask breaks and the eating or drinking, if those are occurring outside, it sounds like you don't need to be social distanced. But if they're occurring inside, you do. So we do need to make, I think you're right. I think we should clarify that in the policy.
Hey, do you want me to put the draft up on the screen?
That would be helpful.
We can
Yes,
look
because
at
I keep going back and
Yeah.
forth. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yep. So those are the
Confusion.
changes.
We're working off of so many documents at this
Yeah.
point, and everything's a little bit
Yeah,
different and nuanced. So
And as usual, we're playing catch up from, with lack of we had no notice and no warning. So apologies for this. But yeah, so I think if you scroll, Emily, keep going, where it starts with finally, face masks will not be required during the following periods as long as appropriate social distancing is enforced. I think if we can say during face masks indoors or face masks will not be required indoors.
put it in red so we can.
Yeah, during indoor mask breaks.
Yeah,
that's
during
good.
indoor mask breaks or while eating or drinking indoors.
Indoors.
And then we can strike while outside. Yeah, I
I'll
think
do it.
I think that does it. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Other parts.
Okay.
I will just say for members of the public, we generally speaking, of course, are not doing mask breaks and eating and drinking indoors if we can avoid it, right? Our go-to move is to
Right.
go outdoors at this point.
Right.
I had a parent reach out to me with a couple questions that I said that I would raise in this forum. So the DESE guidance says like that staff still need to wear masks. So parents, I think, are having, there's some question about why staff needs to if the children don't. And then also for the youngest learners, like K through 2, if parents opt for them to continue wearing a mask, like how is that going to work? Will any staff at the school be at the schools be enforcing that, or is it really just like up to parents to educate their children that they need to keep the mask on when they're outside?
So, so taking the first one, truthfully, I don't know why the guidance is that the adults still need to wear the masks. I think what many people are thinking is, but the adults have been vaccinated.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I would only say that the adults here, everyone's just being flexible and cooperative at this point. I think that after May 29th, that probably will be moot. But for now, that's what we're doing. And I've witnessed adults outdoors when they take their groups outdoors. They either have their mask on or they can take their mask off if they can socially distance, right? So they stand 6 feet away from the group. In terms of if folks would like to continue to wear masks, let me also say, and I tried to make this clear in my communications to families, of course, students are welcome to continue wearing masks. And I would just say anecdotally that I, the other day, did sort of a lap around the high school campus. There were many, many classes that were meeting outdoors. And my observation was that it was about 50-50, kids wearing masks or not wearing masks. So I want to reassure people that it feels like it's been very normalized to wear a mask if that's your choice. And I think teachers have done a good job. The elementary teachers, some analogies I've heard them use as they say, some people are going to put on sunscreen when we go out to recess and others don't. In the winter, some people put on a hat when it's cold and other people don't. And now sometimes people are going to wear masks and sometimes they aren't. So I think they have good language around that. I don't think that realistically we're going to be able to say we can keep track of which each individual circumstance is and enforce that in some way. But we can certainly make sure that it's normal to make a choice.
Thank you.
I think the kids are sort of going along with that too. I've heard a couple comments from my kids saying, oh, some people are wearing them and some people don't, and it doesn't matter. And, they sort of seem to be rolling with this as well and understanding that, that it's sort of a preference, an individual preference. And so hopefully that continues, and that I know some people were worried that their child would be, sort of off a little bit if they're wearing their masks. And I'm hopeful that won't happen.
Mhm.
So, okay. Any other questions, comments?
May I just, if I could say that, I mean, as you mentioned, the information is coming fast and furious at us, and I do apologize that we got the information so late to parents. It frankly was just a reflection of the timeline of when we were getting the information, and the choice that I think we had to make on Monday night was, do we get the information out late, or do we have everybody arriving at school and it's already on the front page of the Globe and, we haven't communicated anything. So, I went for what I thought was the least bad of two choices. We do understand now from a meeting superintendents had with the Commissioner of Education yesterday that the summer programs are still going to be considered this school year. So whatever guidance we're at, nowish in June is what the plan will be for summer, and that the full fall guidance will be out to districts in early June. So we'll see that information at that time. And just the other thing I want to say is, so my point is, clearly this policy will probably continue to be revised, right? We're going to have to keep looking at the new guidance, and we'll think about that. And then we yesterday late afternoon got new graduation guidance, and so the high school administration will be taking a look at that over the next couple of days and thinking about graduation. A lot of planning has gone into graduation, as you might imagine. So, they want it to be wonderful. They'll take a look at the new guidance and see if they're going to make changes, and we may make some changes to graduation. There are also a bunch of end of year events for June that, the planning for that has been underway for weeks. And so I do think we have, even if things change after May 29th, kind of limited capacity to redo all the plans for some of those events. So I'm hoping that people can be flexible and sort of go with it as we are in a changing landscape here. A few more weeks to go, right?
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is that, the past week has sort of been consistent with what we as, in the schools have been feeling all year, which is that this information comes to us sometimes unexpectedly, sometimes without warning, and sometimes, effective almost immediately. We barely have time to process it before we have to communicate it out. So I just, it can be frustrating. I just hope that people realize we're communicating out as quickly as we can, and that we will continue to do that. I know a lot of parents, we mentioned this last Thursday, are anxious about the fall. Again, as soon as we have that information, we have that guidance, and we've been able to review it and digest it, we will communicate out to parents. But to Emily's point, at this point, getting guidance mid-May about events that are happening in late May and early June that have been planned for months, it can be difficult to shift what is that expression? Shift your horse midstream, or whatever that expression is. So all I would ask for from the community is just a little bit of patience and flexibility, as Emily said. And all of these events will be great because they were great. They have been great. They were great last year. They'll be great this year. We want to celebrate our students. We want to celebrate their accomplishments, and we're going to do it in the best way we can. So that's what I wanted to say on that. Is there any other thoughts on this face mask policy in general, on the guidance in general?
Emma, if you wouldn't mind, I'm sure I could Google it. If you wouldn't mind sending around that link to the updated event guidance to the committee, that'd be great.
The event guidance, yeah.
Graduation, yeah.
Or whatever, yeah, just, I'm sure I could find it on the DESI website, but I don't want to.
Good
Probably
luck.
not, actually.
You
sorry.
probably can't. It's buried in a footnote of a memo.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? Nope. All right. So I think at this time, we need a motion to waive the third reading of this. This is only our second reading. We would have to have a third, but we could waive that with a vote. So can I get a motion to waive the third reading?
So
Sure,
moved.
motion to, oh, go ahead, Tony.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. I'll do a roll call. Charlie?
Board.
Sorry, what was that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Tony,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes,
Amanda,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, and now can I get a motion to approve the amended face mask, the amended policy as we have further amended it today?
yes. Motion to approve the policy as amended today.
Second.
Great, I'll do a roll call. Charlie,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes,
Tony,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. Motion is carried. Okay, is there any new business? Nope. All right, hearing none. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
How about a second?
second,
All right, Charlie,
Yes.
Carol,
yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for the
Thank
early
you.
morning.
Thank
meeting.
you.
Everyone have a great weekend.
Right, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.